proclamation today is the Council and the Executive designating January 2026 as Human Trafficking and Slavery Awareness and Prevention Month in Pierce County. And I'd like to welcome and invite the following individuals to the podium as Councilmember Cruver reads this proclamation. So Carlin Sampson is the Executive Director from Rebuilding Hope Sexual Assault Center. Carolyn DeFord, who is online with us, or Carolyn DeFord, who is online, the Anti-Trafficking Program Manager from the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. Did Dr. Suzanne? No. How about Chris? There you are. Chris Gilge, the Ministry Director from Compassion Washington. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, and you'll get to tell us how it's said. We also have Christine Moreland from the More We Love Crisis Center, and Chief Rusty Wilder, Chief of Operations, who all support us in this work. And Councilmember Cruver, if you would like to read it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A proclamation of the Pierce County Council and Executive designating January 2026 as Human Trafficking and Slavery Awareness and Prevention Month in Pierce County, Washington. Whereas human trafficking and slavery are not relics of the past, but persistent violations of human rights that continue today in the form of labor trafficking, sex trafficking, and other forms of exploitation, often perpetuated through force, fraud, and coercion, and affecting individuals of all ages, genders, races, and socio and economic backgrounds in communities across the United States and around the world. And whereas the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime, and modern anti-trafficking efforts build upon this constitutional foundation through laws such as the Federal Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000, and subsequent state and tribal initiatives designed to prevent exploitation, protect survivors, and prosecute offenders. And whereas January was designated as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month in 2010 to raise public awareness, affirm the inherent dignity and freedom of all people, and encourage coordinated action by governments, communities, and institutions to eliminate all forms of human trafficking. And whereas human trafficking remains a pervasive and often hidden crime in the Pacific Northwest, including Pierce County, with traffickers exploiting individuals in industries such as agriculture, construction, hospitality, domestic labor, and the commercial sex trade, and increasingly using online platforms and economic instability to recruit and control victims. And whereas individuals experiencing poverty, homelessness, substance use disorders, immigration vulnerability, prior abuse, and involvement in the child welfare or juvenile justice systems are disproportionately targeted, underscoring the need for prevention strategies that address underlying social and economic conditions. And whereas Indigenous women and people in Pierce County face disproportionate rates of violence, which intersects with heightened vulnerability to exploitation and human trafficking, underscoring the need for continued county-level coordination, tribal partnership, and targeted prevention and response efforts. And whereas Pierce County remains one of the counties most affected by this crisis. As of December 17, 2025, Pierce County reports 10 Indigenous persons currently missing, including both young and adults, reflecting a persistent pattern seen in prior years where Pierce consistently ranked among the top counties statewide. And whereas Pierce County benefits from the dedicated efforts of local and regional partnership, including the Crystal Judson Family Foundation, the Compassion Washington, Rebuilding Hope Sexual Assault Center, Our Sister's House, the Tim Tebow Foundation, The More We Love, the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery, tribal governments, and other community-based organizations who provide prevention education, crisis response, rescue, and long-term recovery services to survivors of trafficking and exploitation. And whereas since 2008, Pierce County law enforcement agencies have participated in the FBI South Sound Child Exploitation Task Force, contributing to coordinated investigations that have resulted in the identification of trafficking victims, arrests of traffickers and exploiters, and connections to essential support services. And whereas ending human trafficking requires a shared commitment across sectors, including education, healthcare, business, faith communities, government, and the general public, and depends upon informed communities, survivor-centered responses, and sustained collaboration. Whereas community members who suspect human trafficking or seek assistance for themselves or others may contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888 or text 233-733. Rebuilding Hope, STEP, at 855-757-7273, and of course call 911 when you have an emergency, or contact local law enforcement. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 20th day of January 2026, the Pierce County Council and Executive do hereby designate January 2026 as Human Trafficking and Slavery Awareness and Prevention Month in Pierce County, and encourages all residents, organizations, businesses, and governmental entities to engage in education, prevention, and partnership efforts that uphold human dignity and work toward the eradication of all forms of human trafficking.
Let's give them a hand. So we'd love to hear from each of you for a minute or two. If you have something, we'd love to hear who you are and the work that you do in our community.
Sure. I will go first. Thank you all. Thank you, Council. Thank you very much, Councilmember Krueger. My name is Christine Moreland, and I am the proud founder and executive director of an organization called The More We Love. We create pathways out of homelessness, addiction, human trafficking, and domestic violence through partnerships with law enforcement. We run a 24-hour crisis line that connects to our crisis center, which is in Renton. It accepts women in, predominantly we partner with the areas of Aurora, mostly trafficked areas. Have been working in some of your downtown areas. Currently, right now, we have 3 women participants in our facility from Tacoma. So I'm proud to say that we are taking in a regional approach on this, where we believe we have to find safe places for these women to go, especially if they're being trafficked in their backyard. We also provide advocacy work, so we do attend court cases. I've been in your courtroom more than I like to be, working to try and get some women out of the circumstances that have brought them there. But I'm just proud to be able to stand in a space that we can respond, and we can respond appropriately and give a safe place for the women to stay. I have been doing street outreach work for 25 years, serving in the encampments on the streets, and I have seen with the fentanyl crisis that has taken over our communities an intersection with the increase in human trafficking. So I just really thank you guys for honoring this space today, because it's important. I also want to stand with your law enforcement and offering my services to them. Although we are in the King County area, we do have outreach teams that will respond, and so we stand with you guys today ready to fight the human trafficking that we need to. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I'll keep my remarks brief. Just thank you so much for dedicating this proclamation to human trafficking and in slavery prevention and awareness. It takes both upstream and downstream priorities to make sure that we're working to get ahead of this type of exploitation and violence and not just constantly reacting or responding to it. Rebuilding Hope has been Pierce County's dedicated 24/7, 365 sexual assault center for 50 years as of 2025. And we're very proud that we started to build customized programming for youth and adults, their loved ones, and to be integrated with system partners for sex trafficking and exploitation programming, STEP for short, in 2015. And great thanks to City of Tacoma for providing some of that initial funding boost to make that possible. But what I love about this community is that it doesn't operate in its own silos. Rebuilding Hope is only effective in reaching the youth, the families, the adults who unfortunately end up oftentimes aging out of services, losing eligibilities for wraparound care. The only reason we've been effective to it is because we work every year to make cohesive collaborations and partnerships with multiple providers, many of which were named in this proclamation. And thank you for acknowledging our Sisters House and the Crystal Judson Family Justice Center. And I want to give an additional shout out to the Puyallup Tribe of Indians, just some essential partners that have been standing toe to toe, and going door to door with us, community to community with us, to try to reach people that are already identified or we just know are at risk of survival sex, of force, fraud, or coercion, and of exploitation and of trafficking, labor, and sex, and working together to try to create a no wrong door approach for individuals who are ready to reach out and ask for help. And for them to have such great community-based organizations providing programming that allows them to self-determine their own paths to safety, to healing, to self-sustainability, and that they can face that in this community from the providers I know and have worked alongside with for many years without judgment, and without fear of recourse, to just see that they have an ability to connect with other human beings who see them for the worth and the love that they deserve and the support that they deserve to get the life that we all deserve. So thank you so much again for this proclamation and for acknowledging so many wonderful providers and for highlighting this incredibly important and unfortunately very prevalent issue that still plagues the Pierce County community today. Hopefully next year and years future, we'll see some different outcomes to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, Council Chair and Council members. It's a privilege and honor to be here today. I'm Christine Gilgee, and the founder of Compassion Washington, and we fight human trafficking in 3 unique ways. And Pierce County has been a huge supporter of us doing free healthcare events. So thank you so much for your support, and it's allowed us since the inception in 2020 to provide free healthcare, mobile, medical, and dental, 14 of them, to a tune of over $1 million, and serving thousands of local people who have been in need. So thank you so much. And then also for joining Compassion Washington in bringing awareness and prevention of abuse and exploitation. Several years ago, you also supported an initiative for us to go into schools to be able to share the signs. So as you know, Pierce County and our local areas, we have hundreds of at-risk youth. And oftentimes it's because of the exploitation they have faced as a child. So we are unfortunately at epidemic stages. And especially why I have this little soccer ball, and each one of you get a soccer ball because you're joining us, is because the world is coming to us. June and July, we have the World Cup. And so while people are all excited and spending thousands of dollars on tickets, that is the perfect storm for the predators and the traffickers. So Compassion Washington, with the support of Pierce County, we are thrilled that we, partnering with other nonprofits as well, are proposing a project called the STEP Project. And so what that stands for is we are partnering with churches and different organizations. So S is serving for freedom. What can we do to serve those that are most vulnerable? Not just in King County, but even in our own neighborhoods, in our own homes. Training. So Councilwoman Krueger came to our Summit Advancing Freedom from Exploitation on January 9th, and Christine Moreland was also one of our keynote speakers to begin raising awareness and prevention. And then on January 10th, we also were able to scope the land, the area of where the tournament will be held. So there'll be 6 that are being held in King County. This is a perfect storm. This is a wave. This is a time for us to mobilize as the community to step forward, to put our compassion into action. So it starts with training. We're going to put online on Compassion Washington training beginning on January 30th. With the permission of Christine and our other speakers, we're going to be putting all of our presentations online to continue so you can be trained and recognize the signs. And then E is for engaging. So we're super excited. We're going to be engaging with the fans. We're going to be engaging with just the audience that will be coming to the different areas where the events will be held, passing out information, and also working with More We Love and the law enforcement where the women are being trafficked at this moment. And to be able to pass out resources and care packages and engage with them. And then we are a Christian nonprofit, so P, the power of prayer. We have the opportunity to pray for these 48 nations that are coming for such a time as this. This is so exciting. The nations are coming. So we're praying for the protection of the most vulnerable, for the law enforcement to be empowered, for all of us to be engaged to work collaboratively. So I just want to thank all of you at Pierce County for joining us. This is such an important initiative to raise awareness and prevention. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all of us from Compassion Washington survivors and the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Rusty Wilder. I'm Chief of Operations for your Sheriff's Office. And I just want to thank you and Councilmember Krueger for bringing a public voice to the scourge of slavery today. And it's all of our part to take care of this. Law enforcement may be the tip of the spear that initially is involved, but without the partnership that you see behind me, I think the ratio of 1 out of 4 is appropriate in the fact of what we need to actually break this cycle. And if it wasn't for our community, we would just be spinning our wheels. The other part that I want to say is, even though, as you all are aware, we do have a staffing shortage, the sheriff's office is not going to use that as an excuse in any way. This is a priority, and I said the word scourge of slavery, I mean it, and it is every one of our responsibility, whether it's patrolmen or domestic violence detectives or special operations people, that all of us are focused on ending this with the help of our community partners. So thank you again.
Thank you. And then online, Carolyn, are you still with us? I saw your camera go on and off. There we go.
I am. Bear with me. I am home today. I've had some family coverage, so I've got my grandson with me. I just want to say thank you to the Pierce County Council, Councilwoman Krueger, for inviting us today. It's an honor to be here. My name is Carolyn DeFord. I'm a Puyallup Tribal member and the Anti-Trafficking Program Manager for the Community Domestic Violence Advocacy Program. We're grateful for this proclamation and for the Pierce County Council's commitment to standing with survivors, families, community members, and everybody who's working to confront human trafficking. For our tribal communities, as many of you know, and Janny, you sit on the MMIWP task force with me, so this isn't an unfamiliar topic for you. But tribal communities, this crisis is personal and it's ongoing. Human trafficking targets Native people at disproportionate rates by exploiting the structural inequities and impacts of historical trauma, housing instabilities and disconnection from support systems. It does more than harm individuals. It disrupts families and it erodes cultural ties, and it leaves lasting impacts across generations. In Indian country, it's well documented that Native American women were the first to be trafficked, the first to be exploited, the first sexual assault victims, survivors, and homicide victims of gender-based violence in this country. And that doesn't ring untrue in our region as well. It's documented that in the city of Seattle, one of the largest brothels in the world existed during the gold rush, and it was primarily staffed with Native women. This affects my family, my history, my land, my people. Native women are left out of this conversation entirely too much. I'm grateful to all of you who have invited us, who've reached out for partnerships, who've invited us for collaboration, who've shared your trainings and your knowledge with us and brought us to the table, because it's due time. This issue is connected to MMIWP. Human trafficking and murder, they go hand in hand. Human trafficking is the hidden engine of the MMIWP crisis, and it's preying on the vulnerability, and it's fueled by demand. I just thank you so much for recognizing Human Trafficking Awareness Month and the Pierce County Council's commitment to preventing, supporting, and accountability for those who continue to profit off of exploitation. It's vital that we continue these conversations and strengthen these partnerships. We have to take collective action. This is all of us collaborating, breaking down these silos. Traffickers aren't working in silos, and neither can we. Our communities and our families, they deserve the answers, and they deserve us to come together with all of us, putting all of our tools on the table and doing our due diligence. Our communities deserve safety. Our children and our future generations deserve protection, and that's what we're all here for. And I'm just so very grateful for the work that we're all doing in this opportunity. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for being with us and for all of your words. And I'm going to look to Councilmember Krueger for comments, and then to any of my other colleagues.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, everyone, for all your kind words. This subject is something that I think about, and I don't want to think about it because of the ugliness of it. And it would have been very easy for me to have been trafficked when I was younger, because I was pretty naive about things. Everybody's nice, somebody wants to help, and they would never do something evil. And then I hear stories, and when you look for a way, how do you get the message out? You're carrying messages that I don't have the courage to do, to see the things that you see and have the experiences that you have had. we can share that at another time, another meeting. It's pretty.
I'm a survivor of human trafficking, for those of you who do not know in this room.
So it's a small piece to be able to bring this forward and at a timely with the soccer cup coming and letting people be aware of that. And so also next year we'll get this a little earlier so we can make the awareness the full month instead of catching it here towards the end of the month. But I appreciate all of you coming forward with your stories, what you do, and I anticipate that we will have more things later. And I have asked the chair of safety committee to hold a workshop with human trafficking to have some help with understanding with the World Cup coming, and maybe he can elaborate on what he might hope to do with that. But thank you for coming here, and I look forward to getting the words out. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And before the vice chair speaks, so Susanna Southworth was one of our invitees. I missed her on the Zoom. She's on Zoom, Councilmember Krueger, so I apologize. Didn't know if you wanted to speak, Susanna, introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, council, men and women, and I hope you can hear me okay.
We can.
I'm in a noisy place away from Tacoma, but I'm a human trafficking attorney, and I live and work in Tacoma. My law firm is Restore the Child. I represent survivors of sex trafficking and child sex abuse material crimes. I've been in this work as there are very few lawyers in this space. I work with lawyers out of New York City and Seattle and to fight for restitution for victims of child pornography crimes and sex trafficking and civil litigation. And we work together because there's just a handful of us that represent those highly traded series that NCMEC, the National Center for Missing Exploited Children, has identified. But I'm right here in Tacoma. I love Tacoma, and I appreciate your leadership and so much this proclamation today, because it is the fastest growing crime in the world, sex trafficking. An individual can be sold over and over, so we must be vigilant, especially as a host city of the World Cup. Thank you for your vigilance. We have to be ready to fight this head on as we welcome the world to Seattle. So again, I'm in Tacoma. My name is Susanna Southworth. My law firm is Restore the Child, and I'd be very happy to speak to a survivor that you might run into that is needing to navigate the legal system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we will go back to Vice Chair Herrera.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I appreciate the council putting this on a proclamation, making awareness. People don't like to talk about this one. But it's always been out there all through mankind's history. And there's always the same equation. It deals with evil people looking for vulnerable people. And they take full advantage of them. And it starts with any demographic of vulnerability, or undocumented coming across the border. That's talked about. It's documented of how they are trafficked, how they are enslaved. Because they're vulnerable. Who are they going to call? The police? No, they're not. Broken homes, people who come from broken homes. We talked a little bit about the tribes. They are definitely proportioned, because especially now that tribes here, especially in the Pacific Northwest, where they have more of an income coming in, they're absolutely 100% targeted because they have stipends and they go after them. Talked about how addiction, trafficking, and murder go hand in hand. Our bad Green River murderer, that he targeted them. Almost 100% of them were being trafficked, and he looked for them. One of them was Gail Matthews, who was a Native American, and she left a daughter at home. She was about 3 years old, and she later became a police officer, and I served with her at the Puyallup tribe. So it goes beyond not just the victims of trafficking. There's families behind that involved, which is sad. The difference now than before is it's getting harder to find them. With the age of phones and online, before it was on the streets, you could see it on 25th and Portland and many other different places, but you don't see that anymore. And people may think it's gone, but it's probably it's around more now than it ever has, because it's all online. It's in a hotel room, and they're working online. And again, with the soccer coming in, people are going to find out about it online. They're not going to be up and down the street. So I can only imagine nowadays, as law enforcement are trying to investigate these things, it makes it doubly hard. On the human side of things, my law enforcement background, talking to some of these people who are working, I actually had time to have conversations at a human level of like, hey, here's resources to get out and stuff like that. And they are just so enamored with fear of trying to break away. That first step is such a hard first step because, I mean, it's because there's violence could be behind it. It's sad and it breaks my heart, but it's good to see organizations here that are out here proactive. I don't remember too many organizations 20 years ago. It was just us trying to get them off the street and connect them maybe with a family member or something like that. So I appreciate the work you have. Most definitely in the tribal communities, there wasn't too much because it was very taboo and shameful. So thank you, council. Thank you for the work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Not seeing any other lights, I will just extend my gratitude to all of you for the work you do every single day. It's exhausting. You end up absorbing trauma by listening and lending an ear and a hug and maybe a box of tissues, legal advice, all the things to help a survivor figure out their next steps. And if you weren't there, then they would have no one. So thank you for being that someone who is potentially saving a life. And if there's children involved, potentially multiple lives. And we know that it lives on in generations, as we've seen with our Indigenous neighbors. So truly appreciate the work you do every day, and happy is the wrong word, but I am glad that we are acknowledging this and making sure that we're elevating it to the level we are.